Can a bad story ruin a game? And just how important is a game's story anyway? Can we just ignore a game's story and focus solely on the gameplay? For me, how important the plot is depends on the game. Basically, the more emphasis there is on storytelling in the game, the more important said story is. And conversely, having less focus on the story makes it less important. For example, a story is not very important in games like Doom, but they are very important in games like Final Fantasy. And in a game where a story is more important, I do think a bad story can actually ruin a game. And in Other M, the story is a major focus. The narrative was certainly what they were trying to sell when marketing this game, so let's discuss Other M's story. We open with what is essentially a Samus baby, even if Samus looks more like Roxas. I have no idea what this scene means. Well, aside from baby, therefore mother. Like sure, Other M has a rather transparent theme of motherhood, but I have no idea what this Star Child looking thing says about motherhood. We continue into a recreation of the ending of Super Metroid. Let's actually discuss the original scene for a bit. In my opinion, that scene in Super Metroid is a prime example of how to tell a story through gameplay. There's actually quite a bit of build up to the scene. After fighting Ridley, you come across what appears to be a containment chamber for the infant Metroid that Ridley captured, but the infant Metroid is missing. Later in the game, you come across this missing Metroid. It's giant and it quickly overwhelms you, almost killing you before running off. It seems that the infant Metroid, well, ain't an infant anymore. Later, you fight Mother Brain. The fight initially goes like it did in the original Metroid. After a bit, it seems that you have defeated her. But wait, here comes her second form. Of course, you keep fighting her best you can, but eventually she hits you with a hyper beam out of nowhere. You're almost dead, and Mother Brain poises for the killing blow. Then comes the infant Metroid here to protect Samus. The Metroid brings you up to full health while giving you the hyper beam. The Metroid is killed, sacrificing itself for Samus. And now, you gotta take care of Mother Brain.
Taste the rainbow, motherfucker!
Gameplay is a great avenue for storytelling. Even without cutscenes and dialogue, you can tell a tale. The scene in Other M really only exists to recap the events of Super Metroid, to get the player up to speed, so to speak. The cutscenes do look pretty good, I'll say. There are some annoyances here and there, though. Like, for example, the Metroid here is rather small. Plus, there's a lack of hyper beam. But those are honestly small gripes. Overall, really, the scene doesn't really cover any new ground, but it's not too bad. We're not here to talk about recaps, though. We then get into what is essentially the aftermath of Super Metroid. Samus is in a quarantine bay. The camera glides over her body, and she starts monologuing.
I had been reliving the tragic moments of my recent past. Thanks to the hyper beam, which was given to me somehow by the baby, I laid Mother Brain to waste.
This brings us to one of the more noticeable flaws of Other M, the voice acting. For one, Samus sounds bored as hell. Like, I get that they're going for a stoic badass, but she doesn't feel as much stoic as emotionless. While an emotionally restricted performance can work, here it's just boring.
Come on, Samus. Let's go next door.
Let's go next door. Ass shot. Also, she's able to summer a suit like this. While the whole summoning the suit thing could work and could fit with the other games, some of the specifics of the suit open up some issues. For one, the suit seems to go away during times of extreme stress, either through enough physical strain or through extreme emotional distress. The emotional distress thing kinda seems to be a glaring design flaw, though.
Right, you're due in the meeting room. The big dogs are waiting. I gave your suit a polish so you'd be at least somewhat presentable.
I'm totally not suspicious. Let's talk about this game's design for the Zero suit. Overall, I like it. The purple and blue mesh well with each other. I also like the multiple shades of blue around the suit. And the design on the back is a nice touch. Plus, they even got rid of the boob socks from Brawl. Although, wouldn't the Zero suit compress Samus's breasts like a sports bra, since breasts are mostly fat? While it's not too different from the old Zero suits, I do still think it's well designed. But with that said, this suit is not perfect. I have two issues with it, to be exact. First, it's the wedgie. Classy. The wedgie is even present in Samus's death screen. In this game, Samus is, well, kinda sexualized, to put it lightly. And by that I mean the game likes to leer at Samus's body every once in a while. Take the last scene, for example. The camera glides over Samus's body, taking in every detail. Plus, let's just say that the wedgie is very hard to not notice, if just for how many ass shots this game has. It's kind of annoying. But Samus has always been sexualized. It has been a tradition for Metroid games to reward fast completion with Samus fanservice. Ah yes, the fanservice rewards. I know about those before I ever even played a Metroid game, if just because the internet won't shut up about them. Honestly, I found the fanservice endings in Metroid to be kinda stupid. What? Just because I like a game doesn't mean I like every part about it. The thing about the fanservice endings, though, is that they were never really important. They take up, what, 10 seconds of a multi-hour game? As much as people talk about how Samus was always sexualized, her sexuality was never really a big part of Metroid. Ever. I mean, hell, the Metroid Prime series never really had fanservice endings, and it barely affected them. The reason people talk about Samus' sexuality more is because the games began focusing more on her sexuality. Well, her sexual desirability anyway, especially Other M. While sure, some of the older games got a bit gratuitous at a few points, it was nowhere near the level of Other M. In general, this game is about as subtle as a sledgehammer to the face, and the fanservice is no exception. Take this scene for example. Adam, Samus' previous commanding officer, is more or less sentencing his brother to death so that 300 more people could survive. And the camera focuses on teenage Samus' ass. Classy. And look, I've got nothing against a video game woman being sexually attractive. I love Bayonetta after all. And honestly, Bayonetta is an example of a heavily sexualized character done right. Her sexuality has purpose. Her sexuality informs character. Bayonetta's sexuality doesn't exist solely for titillation. While I'm sure titillation was probably a factor, it also tells us about who Bayonetta is. She's a performer through and through, and even in combat she has a flair for the dramatic. Why should Samus be sexualized? What does it add? What does Samus' sexuality tell us about her? In my opinion, nothing. What would work for a character like Bayonetta does not necessarily work for a character like Samus. Samus and Bayonetta are about as different as two characters can get. For one, Samus is a loner while Bayonetta is a performer. Even the two game series have completely different tones. One is over the top and zany, the other is restrained and down to earth. In Other M, the ass shots seem to exist for no reason other than Samus being a woman. I mean, let's be real, if the game was starring a character like, say, Master Chief, would there be shots like this of the main character? Anyway, going back to the Zero Suit. I mentioned that I had two issues with its design. My other issue is actually a detail that is quite easy to miss, and unlike the wedgie, the game doesn't really bring attention to it. Samus is wearing high heels. Why? Hell if I know. She ain't a princess, she's not in formal clothes, and her clothes aren't even that fashionable. She's a warrior who's prepared for battle, and she brings high heels, despite her power suit not sharing said heels. Why would a warrior like her wear high heels into battle, in or outside her power suit? Now you may have heard of a certain controversy surrounding Samus and high heels. Namely that Samus in Smash Bros. Now has high heels. Kind of hard to miss those heels. The thing about Super Smash Bros. Is, for me at least, they took a stupid design decision and made it worse. While I found the high heels in Other M to be stupid, the high heels in Smash are far worse. The high heels in Other M at least blend into the suit. Plus, it's a design decision you can easily miss. The high heels in Smash are bright yellow and they immediately catch your eye. Not to mention just how clunky the Smash design is. And some may come to defend these heels saying, high heels make sense because said heel is where the rocket is. It's not sexist, it's practical. Okay then, why doesn't Iron Man have high heels? Can you name one male character with jet heels? Because apparently that's the realistic way to design jet shoes. Imagine if it was decided that Halo was going to get jet boots in a future game. What if the designers decided the most realistic way to have a jet boot is to have high heels with the rockets in the heel? Imagine Master Chief running around in rocket stilettos. How would you react to that? How would the Halo fanbase react to that? Anyway, let's continue with this game's story. Samus reminisces about the infant Metroid.
Never again would I encounter the baby.
Oh, sorry. The baby! Samus then gives a report about her operation at Zebes.
The planet Zebes was annihilated, and all Metroids were exterminated.
A simple report, Almost dull even.
Well, you certainly sound bored! Later, Samus is flying around her ship when she discovers a distress beacon.
Codename Baby's Cry. A common SOS with the urgency of a baby crying. The nickname comes from the fact that the purpose of the signal is to draw attention.
As opposed to the ones that don't want to attract attention. Mayday, mayday, we're all in great danger, please send help! If that's okay with you, I mean. Samus approaches the source of the SOS, a space station called the Bottle Ship. Get it? Samus boards the Bottle Ship and comes into contact with Galactic Federation soldiers. We then meet Anthony and Adam.
Remember me?
Anthony seems friendly, but Adam is automatically distrustful of Samus. He can certainly glare, though.
What are you doing here?
The first words out of his mouth were typical coming from Adam. To answer his question, I recounted the details of what had brought me to this place.
Oh my god, stop talking so much! Not everything needs your commentary! Sorry, it's just so much monologue.
The electrical system here is out, and we can't get the barrier wall to open. We tried using explosives, but it's tricky to pull off without collateral damage. What we need is some way to focus the power onto one centralized location.
After Samus uses the missile to open the door, Adam gives her this glare. How dare you be useful without my consent? See that little dialogue box there? Yeah, apparently that glare was all Samus needed to see for her to turn off most of her abilities. Yeah, it's not just the missiles. It's every upgrade that Samus got from Super Metroid. We'll discuss the upgrade system later, though. Next, we come across a dead scientist.
He's dead.
Oh, I couldn't tell! Then we encounter the first boss, a monster made of bugs, who looks more like a Yu-Gi-Oh monster than anything. It turns out you need to freeze the thing to damage it. So Adam authorizes freezing weapons for everyone but Samus. Wow, Samus, he does not like you.
Samus, looks like I'm gonna need to ask for your cooperation on this mission. But I'm also gonna have to ask that you follow my commands. You don't move unless I say so, and you don't fire until I say so.
What a dick! Now let's talk about the writing, namely the monologues. So much of this story is delivered through monologues. You know the saying, show don't tell? Well, Other M likes telling more than it likes showing. More often than not, the writing is just Samus telling the story to us. Next is a sudden flashback.
Any objections, lady?
The thumbs up sign had been used by the Galactic Federation for ages. Me? I was known for giving the thumbs down during briefing.
Because nonconformist shit like that is totally tolerated in the military.
At the time, I felt surrounded by people who treated me like a child, or used kid gloves because I was a woman.
Basically, the scene is about Samus' experience being the only woman in a group of military guys. But going back to show don't tell. In media that tells more than it shows, it's possible for what is being told to clash with what is being shown.
But he would end all of his mission briefings by saying,
Bring them to safety.
"Any objections, lady?" He was joking.
The scene itself, however, gives no indication of this. Instead, listen to Adam's voice.
Any objections, lady?
Does this sound like a man who's joking? To me, he just sounds annoyed. While Samus claims he was joking, the scene we are shown paints a different picture. It seems that Adam is singling out Samus because she's the only woman here. A woman he's rather annoyed with.
My thumbs down was a twofold response. A sign of derision at being called a lady, and a signal of my complete understanding of the mission orders.
Well, that's pointlessly contrarian.
Among them was Anthony. In the face of his well-meaning behavior, and that of the other soldiers, my response was to become increasingly bitter. I was a child, always with something to prove. A chip on my shoulder.
One common trend in this game is Samus calling herself childish when referring to her pre-bounty hunter days.
But even in the naivete of my youth, I could see in Adam's joking manner how close he felt to me.
Now if only we actually saw that relationship. Instead, it's going to be monologued at us.
Because I was so young when I lost both of my parents, there's no question I saw Adam as a father figure.
What about the Chozo? You know, the ones who actually raised Samus and the ones who actually built her power suit? Yeah, the Chozo are never mentioned in this game once. Guess they weren't important. This guy, he's more of a friend, really. Did Samus just space out there?
Wireless interference in this facility is all pervasive. Your comm systems are useless.
And now we get a rundown of Adam's Marines. Basically, we have Cannon Fodder 1, Cannon Fodder 2, the Black Guy, Cannon Fodder 3, and Cannon Fodder 4. Yeah, I don't care about these Marines. Aside from Anthony, these Marines really have no personality. Heck, I'm not even sure all of them get lines.
Looks like your comm system is still functional.
Why is Samus's comm link working while everyone else's isn't?
Remember, everything you see will also appear on this screen.
Keep this line in mind.
We currently have no plans to authorize the use of power bombs. As you know, they have the ability to spread a high-temperature heat wave over a large area, impacting living things, which is a nice way of saying they can vaporize humans instantly.
So Samus does not have access to most of her arsenal because she could accidentally hurt survivors. After all, with all the upgrades, Samus is kind of a walking death machine. I have a question though. Why are the non-lethal upgrades unauthorized? What's so dangerous about heat resistance? Look, I get that you need to spread out the acquisition of upgrades over the course of the game, and that by itself is fine. The issue is how the upgrade acquisition is explained and the implications said explanation brings. It makes sense not having the Varia suit and Gravity suit immediately. What doesn't make sense is said suits not being available because Adam hasn't authorized it yet.
Having received mission orders from Adam, I felt confused and strangely exhilarated at the unexpected turn of events.
I sound so excited. Another thing about Other M is that the pacing is kind of wonky. Most of the story developments are rather back-ended, so to speak. There's a few cutscenes near the beginning of the game, but the majority of cutscenes and story developments actually occur near the end of the game. The section of the game in between these 2 points, while containing some story elements, they're rather sparse compared to the density of story elements near the end. Now, Samus encounters a creature. Spoiler warning, this is Ridley. This is essentially its youngest form. A baby Ridley, if you will. Bidley. Fuck you, stop staring at me! I am the darkness, fear me!
Some creatures use the powers of others to capture their prey. Watching this disgusting beast, I felt as though it was feeding off my power as well.
What? Why? So after meeting Bidley and fighting a boss, Samus heads to the exam center to meet up with the Marines.
The CPU seems to have self-destructed. The central system is broken into parts, but I think I might be able to restore it and recover some of the data.
How? Like, the CPU is gone. You're not gonna get data off it by typing more. Samus walks around the exam center and finds a dead space pirate.
It is a Besian.
Space pirate. The space pirate Samus found had been genetically enhanced. It turns out that the Galactic Federation was trying to make bioweapons on the bottle ship.
In bringing the infant Metroid back, I did something that I know would have gone against his convictions. And though I might have been left alone, it was a clear and blatant violation of protocol. I wondered what Adam thought of me.
And Samus pines for Adam's approval. Later, the Space Marines face off against not Ridley here. Samus goes to help and is pinned to the ground for her troubles. Hey, Samus, how you doing? Oh, my tail! Oh, man, there was so much running out. Oh, the burning! Well, that was just rude. Screw you guys, I'm out here. Oh, my face.
Remember me?
Nope.
How could this happen?